Honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, and our online viewers and radio listeners tuned in via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Cedric Peterson on behalf of the Department of Communication and the Council of Ministers. I welcome you to today's Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 6, 2019. At this time, the Prime Minister and Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, the Honorable Wycliffe Smith, to address you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peterson. Greetings to all gathered here this morning, colleague ministers, the Department of Communications, members of the press, as well as those who are listening or watching via the various types of media. Good morning, Sualiga. The Brown Pelican Awards. The Department of St. Martin, the Department of Sport, in collaboration with the National Sports Institute, the NSI, and the St. Martin Sport and Olympic Federation, is happy to announce that the annual Brown Pelican Sports Award, honoring local athletes and sporting legends, will take place on Sunday, November 17th, 2019, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. under the tent at Porte Plaisance. The theme for this year is #SportsMatter. All residents and sport enthusiasts are invited to come out and support sports and the many contributors to sport. The aim, as it has always been, is to place a spotlight firmly on those individuals, associations, organizations, and businesses who have worked tirelessly to make sports possible. The focus this year will be on St. Martin's cricket legends. It is important to note that the various sport organizations and the St. Martin Sport and Olympic Federation will present all of the nominees and legends mentioned and honored on that night. New school busing measures. After the police department reported that there was an increase in the number of school fights, the public secondary school and the subsidized secondary schools met with the Department of Education to discuss measures that would help to reduce the increase in fights and violence around the schools. As a result of this meeting, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport initiated follow-up meetings with the Ministry of TIAT, the Ministry of FROMI, and the Ministry of Justice. One of the immediate measures that will be introduced is that school buses will drop off the students and pick them up after school at their particular school. Schools will be asked to keep the students on the school grounds at the end of the school day until the buses arrive. This avoids students leaving their school and ending up at another school in the neighborhood where they get in trouble or cause trouble. This new measure will also require that the buses be at the schools in a timely manner. As Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport, I am urging the community and parents to also get involved in the safety of our children by talking to our youngsters about the dangers of getting involved in school fights. The St. Martin Day celebrations. Our St. Martin Day celebrations will begin this weekend through to Monday, November the 11th. The theme of this year is We Story. On Friday, November 8th at 6 p.m., there will be a one-voice youth concert in the Festival Village featuring the best talent that our young people have to offer. On Sunday, November 9th at 4:30 p.m. in the same location, there will be a spiritual jollification featuring the best of our choirs, groups, and soloists in gospel music and in praise and worship. Then on Monday, November 11th, this public holiday will be marked with an ecumenical service at 7 a.m. at the Phillipsburg Methodist Church, after which there will be the wreath-laying ceremony at the Colbay-Bellevue border. At 10 a.m. until 3 p.m., the Little League ballpark will host the traditional cultural sport games. After the wreath-laying ceremony, we'll have the uniform parade through the front street. The dignitaries will watch the uniform parade with troops from both the Dutch and French sides as it passes the courthouse in Front Street. After the uniform parade, around 11:15 a.m., the activities then shift to the St. Martin Festival Village across from the government building, where we will have the official program with the official speeches from both Dutch and French side dignitaries, and of course, the official toast. During the official program, we will also be opening the time capsule that was buried under the old administration building on November 11th, 1975, 44 years ago. As you know, the old administration building was badly damaged by Hurricane Irma, and it is to be demolished. However, before the demolition, we had to find the time capsule that was buried there on November 11th, 1975. Only two persons had the clues as to where the time capsule was buried. Those two persons were Louis Duzanzon, former head of archives, and Mr. Alfonso Bladen, who now works in the archive department and is one of our UNESCO specialists in archiving and preserving old records. What was placed in the capsule 44 years ago, we do not know. But this coming St. Martin's Day, November 11th, 2019, 44 years later, we will open the capsule and we will be able to see what our forefathers placed in that capsule. So I'm encouraging everybody to come out and witness this very special event, the opening of a 44-year-old time capsule. The official Grand St. Martin National Cultural Parade will begin at 3 p.m. It starts at the Jose Lake Cooper Ballpark in Cul-de-Sac, and I'm inviting all residents, whether you are born here or born to be here, you are invited to dress in St. Martin folkloric wear and join the parade. The parade ends in the St. Martin Festival Village. The last event for St. Martin Day starts at 6 p.m. at the Festival Village. It will be the grand finale, a grand concert featuring the 12 Calypso Monarchs and other choirs, orchestras, bands, and singers. They all come together to tell We Story. That is the story of St. Martin. It is a story filled with a rich and beautiful cultural and historical heritage, built on the foundation of all our ancestors. We Story is Ram Goat Show in Colombier, singing and dancing in Colbay, and domino playing in St. Peter's and the Quarters. We Story is bush tea with arrowroot porridge, and Johnny cake in the morning, fish and fungi for lunch, and rice and peas with chicken and vegetables for dinner. We Story is families going to church together on Sundays, sports in the afternoons, and jollification with the neighbors. That is We Story. Of course, there'll be booths selling local drinks and treats and foods. Don't stay at home, but let's come out together as one and celebrate our St. Martin Day, and all the events and all the activities are free of charge. Besides the official activities, I just mentioned there are lots of other activities being organized around this St. Martin's Day weekend. Together, we will tell We Story. I'm inviting everyone to come out and enjoy these activities with family and friends. The schools will be celebrating St. Martin's Day this Friday, November 8th, in their particular way. The public schools will all be coming together at the LB Sports Auditorium for their St. Martin's Day cultural program, after which they will march through Phillipsburg. I would like to suggest that on Friday, our civil servants, and our citizens, if you can, dress in some folkloric dress, or if you cannot, dress in the colors of our flag, red, white, and blue. Let me wish one and all a happy St. Martin Day when it comes, and may God bless St. Martin. Thank you for watching and for listening, and I'll be available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Smith, for your opening remarks. At this time, I'd like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Telecommunications, and Transportation, the Honorable Stuart Johnson, to address you. Minister Johnson.
Good morning to my colleagues in the Council of Ministers, members of the press, and those viewing via Facebook and other subsequent broadcasts. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the executives and staff of Inter-Caribbean Airlines on the arrival of their inaugural flight from the Dominican Republic to St. Martin. This first flight landed on Sunday evening around 7 p.m. It was indeed a pleasure to join my colleagues from the French and Dutch side tourist offices at the St. Martin Princess Juliana International Airport to welcome yet another airline route to our island. As I've maintained throughout the past year, these flights signal the revitalization of our economy. With the airlines come additional hotel rooms being filled and additional restaurant covers for our local restaurants. Inter-Caribbean offers a non-stop flight from Santo Domingo into the Dominican Republic to St. Martin, with segments of the route coming from Provinciales, Turks and Caicos to Santo Domingo, then on to St. Martin. They'll be flying 3 times weekly using an Embraer Jet ERJ145S series with a capacity of 50 seats. I also want to take this opportunity to announce that for the upcoming St. Martin's Day celebrations, I have granted permission for businesses to open in Phillipsburg. In our continued effort to stimulate economic activity, it is important that we make as much allowances as possible under the current circumstances. Moreover, consideration was given to the fact that there will be 2 cruise ships in port on that day. The Celebrity Cruise Line's Celebrity Summit, as well as the Freedom of the Seas by Royal Caribbean, will be making a call at Port St. Martin. And with this in mind, that decision was made to give the businesses the opportunity to serve our guests rather than closing their doors on them. We simply cannot invite visitors to our island and then close our doors. However, I would also like to urge businesses that will take advantage of this opportunity to open to ensure that they adhere to all our labor laws. I also take this opportunity to inform the public of St. Martin that the Ministry of TIAT will be disseminating over 370 St. Martin car flags. The car flags will be provided to as many civil servants working in the Ministry of TIAT, frontline workers, and those connected to our tourism sector as much as possible. I take this opportunity also to encourage all individuals and businesses to proudly display our St. Martin flag in celebration of St. Martin's Day. Finally, as the Ministry of TIAT is actively reviewing the possibility of relocating the St. Martin Tourism Bureau from its present location to a more centralized location in the Phillipsburg area, is an ongoing discussion. At present, the Office of the Tourist Office is situated on the way to Point Blanche. The intention is to avoid and find a more suitable location in the capital that gives easy access to our guests and access to our tourist office in particular, where they can get information on things to do in St. Martin and where they'll be more effective at converting cruise passengers to become our stay-over guests as well. At this time, I look forward to any questions from the media.
Thank you very much, Minister Johnson, for your opening remarks. If you just tuned in, you're viewing and listening to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 6, 2019. The Minister of Finance, the Honorable Perry Hearlings, and the Minister of VROMI, the Honorable Chris Waver, are present at today's press briefing, but will not be making any opening statements, but will be taking any questions that the media might have. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for the members of the media to pose their questions. Ms. Boastman from the Daily Herald, good morning. You have the floor.
Hi, good morning to our ministers and good morning to everyone tuned in today. My first question is for Minister Smith. Can you provide an update on the construction for the Prince William Alexander School? Why has the construction stopped and when can it be expected to continue?
Thank you very much for that question. You did submit a question, and I just noticed that my person who was getting that information did not get it to me yet. So rather than give you information that may not be quite accurate, I would like to ensure that you get this information today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Thank you, Ms. Boastman, for your question. Lyndon Brown, BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are here today. Question to Minister Johnson. Minister Johnson, last week there was a little misunderstanding about your letter of proposal to the financial minister, the finance minister. Did your letter accepted?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your question. The letter was indeed submitted as promised that afternoon, and I'm sure that the Council of Ministers will have a discussion on the matter. You know, if we look at different things that are happening, both within the different branches of government and different costs associated with certain things, certain investigations, you know, I'm quite sure and quite confident that we'll have a healthy discussion in having that letter having been submitted already.
Thank you very much, Minister Johnson. Thank you, Lyndon. Ms. Boastman, you have the floor.
My second question is for Minister Curlins. Can you provide an update on a process to get the second set of payment in regards to the UTS sale? What stage is the process and when can we expect the payment for St. Martin?
Thank you, Ms. Boastman, for that question. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the press corps. And good morning, St. Martin. Good question. Just to rewind a little bit, because I addressed that, I think, a couple of weeks ago. In the closing documents and the amended national ordinance for the sale of the UTS shares, the wording of minimum price was written, and the lawyers from the buyer wanted some clarity on the interpretation of those words. We, in negotiating with them, came to a conclusion on what is to be understood with a minimum price. That legislation has been handled. It is on its way to the Council of Advice, so we're waiting to hear back from them. As soon as we receive that back, we can handle it further in the Council of Ministers, send it to the government, to the governor to send to Parliament, and to finalize it there. The agreement with the buyers was that we would finish this process within a time span of 3 months. We tried to do it. I tried to do it before we are leaving office, but it's going to be finalized shortly. That will cause the second half of the sales price of the initial, the first tranche of the sale price to be released to us, and that's around $5 million. The first 5 we have received already, and as you know, that money is kind of designated to settle the debts with the TLM, which we have done last week. We made the first lump sum payment on that debt of 13 million guilders. And the other monies, when they come in, those are earmarked for the police chain to settle back pay and other outstandings that we have with them. So this should be finalized before the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Heerlings. Lyndon, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister, Minister Smith. Minister Smith, there have been discussion in Holland, proposal of where the Dutch have intention to take over the police force for 5 years. Minister Smith, do you know of this? And in what category the police force of St. Martin need to be upgraded?
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I'm not aware that there were discussions in the Netherlands for the Netherlands to take over the justice system. I know that after the motion that was passed in the second chamber, and that motion had to do with taking over the management of the justice system, that the motion actually doesn't say it's going to take over the management. The motion actually refers to discussions with St. Martin in that regard and how that can be done. So whatever will be done in collaboration with St. Martin. St. Martin will certainly be part of those discussions. Where the needs are, particularly, I'm not sure, maybe the Justice Minister might be able to give you that information as to where the needs for assistance in the justice system are. So maybe my colleague might have an answer for you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Minister Heerlings, do you want to add to that?
Yes. I can underwrite what the Prime Minister is saying. It is an invitation to discuss how we can intensify and strengthen the collaboration between the two countries to further strengthen the justice chain of St. Martin. This is an agreement that we have in place for a number of years. The progress in it is on a very slow pace for a variety of reasons. One of them, of course, is the lack of the serious lack of funds. I definitely can agree that there's no such thing as taking over, but we can use some serious assistance, for instance, in the rehabilitation of our prison. If it's up to me and if I had the time, that prison should be reconstructed from bottom up, completely new. We cannot do that by ourselves, and discussions have been ongoing between the Ministry of Justice and the stakeholder in the Netherlands that is in charge of the prison system in the Netherlands as well. But our police force, our customs department, you know, we all need to further upgrade and strengthen and train our people. And in that sense, I wouldn't have no problem whatsoever to seek cooperation and collaboration with the Kingdom partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Heerlings. Ms. Boosman, you have the floor.
My third question is for Minister Heerlings. Can you provide an update on an urgent meeting you had in Curacao recently as a follow-up to your meeting with Mr. Ansari and CBCS?
Thank you, Ms. Boosman. The follow-up meeting in Curacao had to do with some urgent matters that we are facing, or the central bank, as a matter of fact, is facing. It is agreed in the meetings that we had that any questions to that effect should be directed directly to the central bank. So I would like to refer you to contact the central bank on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Heerlings. Lyndon.
Question to Minister Weaver. Minister Weaver, do you aware if there is any crisis in GEB? Last week, GEB members had some internal conversation, meetings. Can you tell the people of St. Martin what is the status of GEB now?
Good morning. Thank you for the question. Basically, the status right now with NVGEB is that everything is back to normal. We have the managing board now in charge again. What happened last week is just legality issue with signing the contract in order for them to go back into effect for their 6-month extension. So that is now finalized. Everybody signed on to it, and everybody's now back on board. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Weaver. Let's start the second round of questions. Ms. Boseman, you have the floor.
My next question is for Minister Kerlins again. The Central Bank for Curacao and St. Martin recently distanced itself from statements that you made regarding Gyro Bank. The bank said that said in the Curacao media that your statements were remarkable since Gyro Bank is under strict CBSC supervision. What are your comments about this, and are you still encountering difficulties in obtaining information from CBCS?
Thank you once more. I've seen that statement, and there was something in the statement that I would have said or made a remark that was talking about bankruptcy. I've never made that statement, and if you look back at the press briefing on that day, I never made that remark. So to me, it's remarkable as well. But again, because it is under the emergency ruling from the central bank, I would like for you to refer any questions that you have to the central bank.
When we look at tourism for this season in particular and going forward, the numbers, the indications already are showing that St. Martin is going to do record-breaking numbers compared to previous years, and in some sectors, even years that preceded that. Why can I say this? Up to yesterday, I had a conversation with some of the marinas. One of the marinas in particular indicated to me that they anticipate that the bookings for mega yachts that are coming will prove once again that St. Martin is the destination to be for this season. If we look at even the flight frequencies that are returning, over the past weekend, we had, for instance, 5 flights that arrived from United Airways. We have several other new routes, like I mentioned earlier in my opening statements, that are coming. That is going to continue to show the revitalization of not only our economy, but the rebirth of our tourism product. A lot of effort and work has gone into our tourism sector, the marketing, the promotion of it, changing certain visions that are more in line and reflective of the times we're in, being more conscious financially of the decisions that we have to take. It is no more times where St. Martin can just sit back and enjoy having tourists coming without any motivation, without any push. Similarly, with new properties that are coming online, as mentioned, was made recently in the media with the Adonis property in Kupakoy. We're also going to see soon Port de Plaisance, which is going to become a Wyndham property. So we're looking at having more name brand hotels added to our destination. I continue to look forward, of course, to the full completion of the Planet Hollywood resort that will be in the former Gradeway Hotel location. Those will not only add on to what we have in terms of room inventory numbers and economic opportunity, it also most importantly provides jobs. You know, overall, if we look at the current situation where we are, we need people to work. We need our people to work. We need to afford them the opportunity to work, and if need be, provide them with the necessary skill sets to work. Like I've said time and time again, that has been my only mission in office, is to see economic opportunities for our people and for our country. Similarly with the port as well, Port St. Martin continues to show that it is the port in the region to be reckoned with. As we see developments in other islands as well, it continues to show us on St. Martin the need to have the discussion in terms of capital investment, the need to invest more in our port, evolve as a cruise port, because what we've done 10, 15 years ago is not the model that we're in now. There's no 1-2 formula in the situation we're in now. The times are changing. And over the last year and a half, we've had several discussions with all of the executives in both the cruise sector and the airline sector, and they've continued to pledge their support not only to the ministry, but also had confidence in me as minister. I look forward to returning and completing that job. We have a lot of things envisioned for St. Martin. A lot of things have been finalized. And if I look even at the draft transition document that is near completion for the Ministry of TIAT, it could make anyone emotional because, you know, in island territory days, it would take any sitting government about 4 years to see any project come to any realization. It was the first year for internalization and discussion. The second year was mostly starting to execute. By year 3 and 4, around election cycles, you would see all sorts of buildings popping up, ribbons cutting, and you name it. This Council of Ministers, this ministry in particular, hit the ground running on day one of taking the oath of office, and that is heavily documented in not only the transition document, but in the accomplishments seen in every sector, in our tourism sector as well, including what was done for our people in terms of training over 440 frontline workers. So I look forward to a very busy season this coming season. I again have reminded the airport and airport management to look at accommodating the additional flight frequencies that we're going to have, the number of guests, to make sure that we mitigate any concerns. I don't want to see any issues on social media with long lines, baggage claims, departure in the departure lounge. All of those issues should be addressed, and I'm again using this medium to once again very clearly indicate that those things are being monitored. I again sympathize with the workers at the airport and continue to look out for their best interests every single day. I'm in this office and even after. So I continue to look for this season with much optimism and hope that it will be excellent for our country.
Thank you very much, Minister Johnson. And members of the media, thank you very much for your questions and participation in today's press briefing. And to our online viewers and radio listeners, thank you for tuning in and being a part of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today. If you've missed our broadcast, we invite you to join us, of course, tonight on cable TV for rebroadcast at 7 p.m. Of course, for video on demand, be sure to log on to the official Government of St. Martin YouTube channel. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and, of course, click on that notification button so that you do not miss any programming that is developed by the Department of Communication. On behalf of the Council of Ministers and all of us at the Department of Communication, I'm Cedric Peterson. Thanks for tuning in.